Hey, thanks so much for finding the video. Do us a favor. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe. And be sure to leave your comment. We love to interact. Enjoy the video. If you follow the show, you know my feeling on this topic. I am very bullish on Jameis Winston having an opportunity to be the Saints quarterback. That's not going to surprise anybody, okay? But I want you to understand that's not where I'm going again. I'm not just reiterating the same thing. If you have been with us well before Jameis signed with the Saints, I proposed that as an option. Many of you laughed at me, and I'll be damned it happened. I, for many reasons, like that option. I'm not saying you marry yourself to Jameis Winston today. I'm saying you ask him out on a date. Like, that's where we are with this, because there's a lot of potential there. And when Drew Brees got hurt, Jameis Winston went into the game. And I, like many others, assumed this was going to be Jameis's opportunity, his audition, his Teddy Bridgewater moment. For however long Drew was out, this was Jameis's opportunity. But my hope was that he wasn't auditioning for the rest of the NFL, that he was auditioning for the Saints to replace Drew Brees. And we all know that hasn't happened. Sean Payton instead has started Taysom Hill. The Saints won their first 3. Taysom he's had good and bad moments. We've illustrated all of them here over the weeks. But this last week, the loss to Philly was bad. And I put it really on Sean Payton, not on Taysom, for reasons we've discussed. I mean, Taysom's superpower is his cheat code is his ability to run. And Sean refuses to run him. And he's an average at best pocket passer. He struggles with the deep ball. Struggled with touch some with the short and intermediate stuff. Certainly, as Mike Thomas says, he's got a fastball. And there's some throws he's made that are really good. But when you're talking about a potential heir apparent as the franchise of your program, you got to have more hope and a higher ceiling, especially when you're talking about a guy that's already 30 years old. It's why this opportunity to test drive, for lack of a better phrase, Jameis Winston as your starter was something that I thought was really appealing. See if he's your guy. If he is, awesome. Then you give him the contract that Carolina gave Teddy Bridgewater and make him your guy. And if not, you know he's not your guy. You sign someone in free agency, you draft a quarterback, you still have Taysom for another year, and then you go into the offseason however it's going to go. So that's why I feel like the Saints have missed an opportunity. But Sean Payton went on the Huddle and Flow podcast and discussed this whole situation at length. The decision to start Taysom, what they think about Jameis, and there's some interesting things. Now, he started with the why Taysom Hill is starting. We have heard this already from Sean, but he did re-explain the thought process that led to the decision to start Taysom while Drew was out.
I and we as an organization love what we've seen from Jameis. And that constantly weighs in your mind relative to each game. Going into the season, all 3 of the quarterbacks knew that in the event that there were any injury during a game, Jameis was coming in. The Taysom was going to have a large plan in special teams and at tight end, and then we would go from there. And so when that situation arose and Drew was hurt for a longer period of time, I visited with Jameis, I visited with Taysom. I had basically given Taysom my word in the offseason that, hey, this is long before Jameis even arrived, that he would have that opportunity as the 2 coming back here.
So before Jameis Winston even signed with New Orleans, when Taysom signed his 2-year extension with the Saints, Sean Payton gave him his word, look, if something happens to Drew, you're the number 2. So they go sign Jameis, but Taysom already had been promised, you're the 2 if something happens to Drew, to where it's a longer-term type deal. Sean Payton elaborated about how the quarterbacks have handled this situation, and he even alluded to the question was kind of posed like, there's an idea that you don't believe Jameis can be a viable option. So here's the kind of two-part that Sean Payton talked about.
Man, I've been proud of how that room has handled it. Jameis particularly, because he's a competitor and he wants that opportunity. And listen, I feel like I said it a week ago. I feel like our next quarterback's in the building. And one of the attractions for Jameis, and I understand it, was there aren't many places in free agency where you can go to a team and have a pretty good bet that quarterback like Drew is going to be playing in his last year. That doesn't exist. You go to a team and then hey, you're going to look for that opportunity to sometime be a starter. He's going to have that opportunity the minute Drew leaves, and both he and Taysom know that.
The last part there is the key. And that's the thing that many have latched onto, is Sean Payton saying he, Jameis, is going to have that opportunity to be the starter the minute Drew leaves out of here. I said, and so will Taysom. But effectively, Payton believes, and I trust him here, that their next starting quarterback is currently in the building, meaning Taysom or Jameis. Given the decision they've made now, the thought is, well, it's Taysom, and Jameis will leave in free agency somewhere to have an opportunity to start. But Sean's being very clear there that Jameis Winston's going to have an opportunity to be a starting quarterback next year, provided this is it for Drew Brees, as we all assume it will be. The really tricky part is, how do you get Jameis to re-sign? He's on a one-year deal. And in this moment, he's already been passed over by Taysom Hill. Can you really keep him next year without assurances that he's going to start? Now, you could say, well, what team's going to bring him in and just say, you're our starter? I don't know. I mean, we can look around the NFL and say, where are there going to be opportunities? Maybe Phillip Rivers retires in Indianapolis. Maybe New England. If it's not worked out well with Cam Newton, if they're not convinced Jarrett Stidham's the future, maybe New England looks at Jameis. That quarterback carousel is going to spin this offseason. It was just last year, there weren't enough chairs. So Taysom had to be a backup. Jameis had to be a backup. There's going to be more spots open up this year. I don't even think that that's even deniable. And one very likely is going to be in New Orleans. And Sean Payton saying Jameis is a viable option to be a starter, but is Jameis willing to take that risk? Will he stick around? One more, and this was Sean Payton being asked point blank, do you feel that Jameis is a viable starter in the NFL?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because here's the thing. There's no way I would say, I believe Taysom is ascending, getting better at this position. And I believe there's a certain skill set. They're different players, but I believe our future quarterback sits here, and Jameis definitely is a starter. He's performed exceptionally well, considering the amount of time we've had or haven't had since we've signed him.
The biggest pushback to Jameis Winston is two things. Number one, every time I say, man, this guy, he started over 70 games in the NFL, and he's one of a handful that have thrown for 5,000 yards in a season, the retort is always, yeah, but he threw 30 interceptions. Well, Peyton Manning had a 30 interception season. Brett Favre had a 30 interception season. I mean, some all-time greats have had that. There's only a handful that have ever thrown for 5,000 yards in a season. You know he can do it. He's also 26 years old. He's in his physical prime, and athletically, he's gifted enough to be the number one pick in the draft and win a Heisman. The thing that was one. Two, the pushback is he's immature. People bring up crab legs and all the stuff at Florida State and whatever. And by the way, all of that is very viable. It's very legitimate. I mean, he was a very immature kid at Florida State, or young man at Florida State, and did a lot of stupid things. I'm not even denying that. But life and life situations, circumstances, sometimes force us to mature. He's a married man now. He's a father. That changes a lot of us. I mean, I'll ask you, I'm assuming you listening or watching, if you're an adult male, like, look, I mean, our primary demo is men 25 to 54. So if you're in that demographic, are you a more mature person today as a husband and a father than you were as a 19-year-old in college? I am. Dude, I was the most vulgar kid in the student section you'd ever meet. There are times me and my buddies wait till the sun go down. We go like Case Tiger Stadium to the PMAC to see what signs we could steal. Put in our apartment. I mean, we did stupid things. Well, I mean, not hurting anybody, but just stupid, immature things. Life changes you as you grow up and as responsibilities come along. I believe that can happen and people could change. Just when you're the starting quarterback at Florida State and you win a Heisman Trophy and you're playing for a national championship, you're under a microscope. And when you do stupid things, people are going to point it out. And he did a lot of stupid things. But I also believe humility can change people as well. When you are humbled, and when you're Jameis Winston, and your entire life, every time you stepped on a field, you've been the man. I mean, guy was an amazing baseball player at Florida State as well. Starting quarterback, wins a national championship, wins a Heisman as a redshirt freshman. I mean, just incredible. Number 1 overall pick, starting as a rookie in the NFL. I mean, it's legitimate that what he's going through right now is the first time in his professional life, in his athletic career, that he's faced adversity. How you deal with adversity matters. I mean, Ryan Leaf did not deal with adversity well. Jamarcus Russell did not deal with adversity well. Look at what Jameis has done. Went vegan, lost 30 pounds, got himself in the best shape of his life, went and had his LASIK done, get his eyesight fixed, humbled himself, became a backup in New Orleans, allowed himself to become a backup because he said, I want to learn from you and you, meaning Payton and Brees, the best offensive minds in the game. What am I doing wrong? How can I get better so I can become the best version of me possible? And he sat there all this year, not pouting. He's been a total pro about the whole thing. He's even made fun of himself with the eating a W thing in celebrations. Like, if you're being honest with yourself, this was a very immature young person that has grown up to be a pretty mature guy through this adversity. And I respect that tremendously. And I think physically he's got a tremendous amount of upside. I know every time we have this conversation, I get hit with, why do you hate Taysom Hill? I don't hate Taysom Hill. I've got so much respect for that dude at 30, doing what he's doing, battling back after 4 season-ending injuries, going on his LDS mission, delaying everything he's been through, humbling himself to take the role he has, where he'll be a personal protector. He'll catch passes. He'll block as a tight end. He'll run wildcat. I mean, that dude is awesome. He's a great story. I get why he's a fan favorite. He has been so many times that when they played in Tampa a couple of years ago, Saints were dead in the water. Taysom block punt, light switch, flip the whole momentum of the game. I love the guy. I don't think he'll ever be a viable starting quarterback in the NFL. Jameis can be. And apparently Sean Payton sees that as well. I just hope that in not providing this opportunity for Jameis with Drew Brees out, it doesn't close the door from Jameis' side thinking, I'm not going to get my opportunity here. I got to go somewhere else to play. And then you're stuck with Taysom and giant question mark, while the best option might walk out the door for the second year in a row. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.